twice the woman you'll ever be." My mother said it over the turkey like a prayer, smiling at my sister as if I weren't even in the room. Forks paused. Heat crawled up my neck. I swallowed the words I wanted to throw back and touched the sealed envelope in my coat pocket. $80,000 sat inside it, waiting for the right second. Thanksgiving at my parents' house always looked perfect in photos. A farmhouse table, candles trapped in mason jars, cranberries shining like rubies. In person, it felt like a performance with assigned roles. Hanoldis, golden, engaged, took the head of the table beside Mum. I, Tessa, second, quiet. Still figuring it out, took the chair by the kitchen door so I could get up when someone needed more gravy. Dad raised his glass. To Hannah? New promotion, new fiancé, new house on the way. People clinked and whooped. My aunt shouted, "You deserve it, honey." Then Mum added the line that hit like a slap, "She's twice the woman Tessa will ever be." Some of us make something of ourselves. A few cousins looked down. One laughed into her napkin. Hannah's smile froze for half a second, then brightened, like she believed it was kindness. I kept my face still. My palm found the envelope in my coat again. Thick paper, bank logo. My name on the front. I'd planned this moment for 2 weeks, ever since the wire hit. I'd even rehearsed lines in the shower. But Mum's words scraped the plan raw. "More rolls?" I asked, standing, before anyone could see my eyes. In the kitchen. I leaned on the counter and let the oven fan drown the noise. 2 months ago, I landed a contract no one in this house knew about. A city grant and a private partner for the neighborhood program. I built at 2 a.m. after shifts a mobile clinic scheduler. I coded so seniors could book rides and meds without 5 phone calls. The pilot worked. The expansion came with an $80,000 check first tranche for me to deploy the platform and hire 2 part-time coordinators. I kept it quiet because I wanted the work to speak first. Tonight, I hadn't come to brag. I'd brought the envelope to give something that would change this family in a way Instagram never could. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. I carried the rolls back in. Mom was telling a story about Hannah's new office. "Corner windows," she said, shining. "A real job." She didn't say it to my face, but the word real hovered between us like steam. Hannah caught my eye. "You okay?" she mouthed. She looked unsure. I nodded once. Desert plates. Someone turned on football. Dad announced a gratitude circle. When it reached Mum, she said, "I'm grateful for daughters who stay on the path." People smiled in my direction without looking at me. My hand slid into my coat one more time. The envelope felt heavier than paper and ink. Inside, not just the checker-signed agreement to place a clinic hub at Grandma Ruth's old storefront. Free rent guaranteed for a year if Mum and Dad approved the permit letter. It would save a block that was turning into ghosts. It would put our family name on something that worked. I cleared my throat. "I have something for the family," I said, voice steady. Heads turned. Mum lifted an eyebrow. "Unless," she said sweetly, "it's another idea." "It's an answer," I said. And set the envelope on the tablecloth between the candles and the cranberries. Forks stilled. Candlelight flickered on the gold edge of the envelope. I slid it toward the center, careful, like placing a fuse. Dad cleared his throat. "Tessa, if this is about money, it is," I said. "But not for me." Mum's smile sharpened. "Here we go." I opened the flap and pulled out the papers. First, the permit letter with the city seal. Then the check with the partner's logo at $80,000 in clean digits. A sound ran around the table, small and startled. Like someone dropping a spoon. "What is that?" Hannah asked. Not smiling now. "It's the first tranche for my project," I said. "You remember Grandma Ruth's storefront on Maple? I built a platform that books, rides, and meds for seniors. Tested it with the rec center. The city matched a private funder to scale it. The check covers 2 coordinators, hardware, and the hub lease. If Mum and Dad sign the letter by Monday at 5 p.m., we get a matching grant, and the clinic opens there by January." Silence. Football murmured from the living room like a faraway storm. Aunt Denise laughed into her wine. Facebook donations. It's a restricted grant, I said. Audited, I can't touch it personally. It can only pay for the clinic line items. If the letter isn't signed by Monday, the funds roll to another zip code. That's the clock. Hannah's fiancé Ellie leaned forward. Restricted means, she's right, he said, voice low. You can't spend it on like a wedding. Mum's head snapped at him. He sank back, flushing. Dad picked up the permit letter and squinted. What do we sign? A simple consent, I said. You own the building. City needs the owner's approval to use the space for a health services hub. It's month to month, no lien, no penalty. If the hub fails, it vacates. If it works, the block stabilizes. Mum set down her fork. Stabilizes, she repeated, as if tasting a word from a language she didn't order. What about the noise? The type of people. Grandma's friends, I said. And the folks who lived the streets over. The ones who kept bringing casseroles when Dad broke his ankle. Dad flicked a glance at Mom. Her mouth thinned. We have plans for that building, she said. We didn't tell you because you overreact. A developer made an offer. Good one. Closing is Tuesday. The room tilted. Tuesday, I repeated. Hannah looked at her plate. Eli looked at Hannah. Mum's voice went light, like Christmas wrapping. They're putting in a boutique. Maybe Hannah will do her bridal pictures there. It's time that corner looked nice. It looks like Grandma, Mum, I said. It looks like a hand-painted sign and a jar for nickels and a bell on the door that sang when you walked in. Dad held up the check like it could be guilty. 80,000 or whatever this is doesn't beat a sale. It doesn't have to, I said. Your sale closes Tuesday. The city needs an owner letter Monday. If you sign, the developer inherits the hub in the lease for at least a year. They get good press, seniors get rides. We get something with our name on it that isn't just a sold sign. If you don't sign, the money leaves, the hub goes to another neighborhood. And Maple turns into another empty window with a chalk heart and a coming soon that never comes. A cousin whispered, Dang, and got shoeshed. Mum folded her napkin with perfect corners. You ambushed me at my table. I invited you to use your table for something bigger than plates. I said. Hannah pushed back her chair an inch. Can I see? She asked. I handed her the letter, the schedule, the budget notes. She read fast, biting her lip the way she did when we were kids and building paper cities. Eli scanned the numbers. The match is contingent on owner approval, he murmured, and there's PR money in here. Ribbon cutting, press release. Dad's eyes lifted. Press was a language he understood. Mum reached across and slid the papers back. No, she said, almost gentle. You had ideas. Hannah has a path. We won't tie our property to your experiments. Experiments don't come with audit schedules and city seals, I said, keeping my tone soft so it wouldn't shatter the room. They come with glitter glue. This is not glitter glue. From the kitchen doorway, Grandma Ruth's photo watched Usapron lipstick. The smile that forgave bad pies. I swallowed. Do you remember the winter she kept the heat on in the store? I asked Mum, so Mr. DeLuca could sit by the radiator when his furnace died. You said she was naive. She said, it's cold. We're warm. The hub is a radiator with better code. Aunt Denise snorted. She's rehearsed. I'm prepared, I said. Dad looked at the clock on the microwave like it might rescue him. We'll think about it, he said. The deadline is Monday, I said. Thinking without signing is a no. Hannah's chair scraped again. Mum, she said. Let her finish. Mum lifted her glass. Hannah, darling, you don't have to choose between being generous and being smart. I know, Hannah said, which is why I want to hear the smart part. The table breathed. Somewhere, the game cheered and fell silent. I slid a second page from the envelope, a one-page summary with 3 bullet points and a line for signatures. I set a pen down by Dad's plate. We can be done in 2 minutes, I said, and we can put our name on something that keeps people warm. Mum's eyes flashed. We already put our name on something, she said. It's called Our Daughter Who Does Things Right. She turned to Hannah. Sign your thank you cards. Leave the business to us. Hannah didn't move. She looked at me. If I sign as a witness, she asked quietly, does it help? It shows intent, I said. And it puts a clock on the grown-ups. Hannah reached for the pen. Mum's hand snapped out and grabbed her wrist. Don't, she said. The room froze around that held line hand on wrist, pen between fingers, check on linen, clock above the stove, humming toward Monday. I kept my breath steady. I kept my voice kind. It's not a competition, I said. It's a chance. But in that second, with Mum's grip whitening Hannah's skin, it looked exactly like both. Mum's fingers tightened around Hannah's wrist. The pen hung there like a small metal threat. The room watched. Let go, Hannah said quietly. Mum didn't. You don't understand contracts. I understand neighbors, Hannah said. Her voice shook, but she didn't look away. Before anyone could move, the doorbell rang. Once, twice. Sharp Dad stood, grateful for an exit. I'll get it. He opened the door to Mr. DeLuca's daughter, Ivy, cheeks red from the cold, a foil-covered pie in her hands. I'm sorry, she said, breath making clouds. Mama sent pumpkin. Said it isn't Thanksgiving unless Ruth's family gets a slice. We don't cook right without her voice. Behind her, Mr. DeLuca leaned on a cane, oxygen in his nose, hat in his hands. He lifted the pie an inch. If I leave it on the stoop, the raccoons get it. Dad blinked. Come in, just for a minute. They stepped into the entry. Ivy's eyes landed on the check on the table, the city seal. She looked from it to me. Is this about the hub? She asked, soft. Mum's chin lifted. Family dinner. Ivy swallowed. Sorry, it's just... The pilot saved us last month. The driver brought Papa's meds on time. The doctor said it kept him out of the ER. She touched her father's sleeve. Whoever made that app, thank you. Mr. DeLuca tipped his hat at me, small and serious. Ruth would like what you're doing, he said. She liked heat. Mum's face didn't move. Dad's did. Thank you, I said. We're trying to keep it. Ivy squeezed my hand and backed toward the door. We won't bother you, she said. And they were gone as quickly as they came. The pie sat on the counter like a witness. No one spoke. Even the game seemed to turn itself down. My phone buzzed on the table. Alvarez City Health Department. I tapped speaker so I couldn't be accused of secrets. This is Tessa. A steady voice filled the room. Hi, this is Deputy Director Alvarez, doing holiday check-ins. If owner consent is signed by Monday 5 p.m., we release the match and schedule a January ribbon cut. There's also a small tax credit for owners providing community health space. We'd love to feature the original family name if that's agreeable. Dad's head lifted. Tax credit. Yes, sir, Alvarez said. 1 year abatement on the hub square footage. PR is optional, but highly recommended. Mum stepped closer to the phone. And if we choose not to participate? No harm, Alvarez said. Funds go to the next census tract. The clock moves. Thank you, I said, and ended the call. Silence again. The clock over the stove ticked in the quiet, like it had waited years for a job. Mum smoothed her napkin. Your developer meeting is Tuesday, she said to Dad. They expect a clean property. No encumbrances. If we sign this, we scare them off. I met her eyes. I asked legal at the Partner Foundation to look. I said, they wrote this consent to be non-binding beyond 12 months. No lien, no easement. Any buyer can close with it in place and gets the credit to... They sent a note. I slid a short email forward. The subject line read, Model owner consent transferable. Buyer-friendly. Eli leaned in. She's right, he said, careful. It's license use, not a leasehold interest. A buyer can inherit it. They usually like the PR. Mum's mouth tightened. You work at a startup, Eli, he flushed. I read Dad's eyes pinned the word credit, like it was a ladder. How much? Not a fortune, I said, but enough to make doing the right thing feel smart. Mum looked back at Hannah. You have your venue walkthrough on Tuesday, she said. We don't need complications. Hannah set her jaw. We don't need cold neighbors either. Mum's laugh was sugar over glass. Sweetheart, this is business. From the hallway, a picture frame clicked against the wall in a little draft. Grandma Ruth in her apron kept smiling. My chest hurt in the old place. I pulled a recipe card from the envelopulo edges, her handwriting. I found it last week in the old register when I measured the storefront. On the back, a note in blue pen. If Maple ever forgets we belong to each other, use this room for life, not for glitter. Ah, I slid it to Mum. She left it in the till, I said. Not a deed. A direction. Dad read it. Something in his face folded, then stood up straighter. Mum didn't look. Ruth gave away heat we paid for, she said. You can't run a family like that. You can choose to, Dad said, and everyone turned because he hadn't said a sentence like that in years. He picked up the pen. His hand hovered. Mum's voice sharpened. If you sign that, you jeopardize my sale. No, I said gently. You contextualize it. My phone buzzed again. A new email. Brightbridge Foundation, press hold, confirmed, pending owner consent. Photos Tuesday 10 a.m. if signed. Under it, a text from Alvarez. Councilwoman Dorsey will stop by for a quick hello if helpful. Hannah's eyes widened. Councilwoman at the ribbon. If we sign by Monday, I said. A new vibration hit the table. Dad's phone. He answered on reflex. Hello. He listened, brow creasing. Yes, this is he. A pause. Tonight? That's early. He hung up slowly. Developer wants to drop by with the purchase agreement, he said. Says he can expedite with a holiday bonus if we sign now. Mum's relief was a flood. Perfect. We'll be done before dessert. Hannah looked from the stove clock to the check to the pen in Dad's hand. They're trying to beat Monday, she said, voice flat. I nodded. They are. The front porch light snapped on. Headlights washed across the window. Gravel crunched under tires. Do not open that door, Hannah said to Dad, surprising all of us, including herself. She pulled her wrist free from Mum's grip and set the witness line in front of her. Sign the consent first, she told him. Then talk to your boutique. Mum stared at her like she'd never seen this version. Hannah, I'm not twice anyone, Hannah said. I'm your daughter, and so is she. The doorbell rang again. Lower, heavier. Business, like Dad, looked at the door. He looked at Grandma's recipe card. He looked at the pen. Clock says Monday, he murmured. Clock says now, I said. He put the pen down against the paper. The ink hadn't touched linen. Yet when Mum's hand moved, and the whole table leaned toward the point of that pen like the room had one. Heartbeat. Mum, single quotes, hand shot out, palm, over the signature line, just as the doorbell rang again. Short, confident. Business. Dad swallowed, pushed back from the table, and opened the door. A man in a navy coat and a woman with a leather folio stood on the porch, breath fogging. Klein, the man said, smiling wide. Happy Thanksgiving. This is Ms. Shaw, my agent. We brought the purchase agreement. If we sign tonight, I can add a holiday bonus and cover closing costs. He stepped inside without waiting. The ink of new money trailing behind him. Ms. Shaw placed a thick stack on the buffet, slid a pen alongside it like she'd been born doing that. Klein clocked the check on our table. The city seal, the pen at Dad's plate. His smile tightened a millimeter. We'll make this easy, he said. Clean title. Vacant delivery. No encumbrances, licenses, tenants. Licenses, Eli repeated gently. What if the license is revocable and term limited? Klein didn't look at him. No uses, he said. Boutique schedule starts demolition Monday. Mum exhaled like a saved woman. You hear that? She said to Dad, perfect timing. Hannah's eyes flicked to me. I slid the one-page consent closer to Dad's elbow and kept my voice level. Mr. Klein, I said. The city's owner consent is a revocable license for 12 months. Transferable, buyer-friendly, no lien. You inherit the tax credit and a ribbon cutting with press. If we sign by Monday 5 p.m., you can still close Tuesday. You just get goodwill with it. Klein's smile thinned to wire. We don't do charity, he said. We do retail. It isn't charity, I said. It's foot traffic and a story. People will know your name before the store opens. Ms. Shaw paged the agreement, pen poised. Our lender requires vacant delivery, she said. Adding a public use license introduces risk. Risk for who? Hannah asked. Her voice wobbled, then steadied. Seniors who need rides, or a brand new shop that wants a pretty block. Klein turned to Dad. Sir, you can spend the next 48 hours arguing, or you can sign tonight and sleep well. He tapped the signature line on his stack. 6 figures wired by Monday morning. The pie from the DeLucas sat on the counter like an extra heart. Grandma Ruth's recipe card lay between the 2 stacks of paper hours, and his Dad stared at the card. Ruth liked heat, he said, like he was remembering a language. Mum's pearls clicked when she swallowed. She also forgot about bills. My phone buzzed on the table. A text from Alvarez. If it helps, Councilwoman Dorsey is nearby at the church drive. She can swing by for a hello. As if the house heard the name. The doorbell rang a 3rd time to quick taps. Official. Dad opened it. Councilwoman Dorsey stood on the step in a wool coat and a knit hat. Staffer behind her, carrying a tote of canned goods. I won't stay, she said, warm and efficient. Just wanted to say, I'm thrilled about the Maple Hub. If owner consent lands by Monday, we can stack a small facade grant on top of the tax credit for whichever owner carries it. And we like ribbon cuttings. Her eyes slid to Klein's stack and back to Dad. Buyers who support neighbors tend to open 2 lines. Klein's smile returned. Professional. Councilwoman, he said smoothly. We love neighbors. Good, she said, every inch of her voice saying, prove it. She squeezed Dad's shoulder like a votive light and left as quickly as she came. The door closed on cold and noise. The kitchen held a new heat. Ms. Shaw's pen hovered. We still need vacant, she said, softer now. Eli flipped a page in the purchase agreement. Your clause says free of tenants and recorded interests. The city consent is neither. It's unrecorded and revocable. Buyer can inherit it and cancel in a year if they hate good press. Klein's jaw ticked. He recalculated. We can consider a side letter, he said to Dad. If the consent is framed as a temporary display partnership instead of a clinic. Mum lit up. Yes, rebrand it. I shook my head. You can't call a Medzendrides hub a display. The audit won't pass. I kept my tone gentle. But you can call it a pilot, because that's what it is. The stove clock hummed in the silence. Friday, 7:42 p.m., the window showed our reflections to stacks of paper. 2 pence, 1 recipe card. A check that wasn't mine. Hannah pulled her wrist from Mum's grip and set the witness line in front of her again. Dad, she said, sign the consent first. Then negotiate with Mr. Klein like a man holding a good card. Klein's eyes narrowed at the word first. Mum went still. If you sign that, you risk everything, she said. Or we anchor something, Dad said, voice low. Anchor what? Mum demanded. He touched Grandma's card. Our name. The house breathed in. The pen at Dad's plate glinted. He reached slow careful. As if the table were a pond that might crack. Klein slid his pen forward too. Mr. Henderson, he said. Silky. Let's be practical. From the hallway, Nana's picture frame clicked once in a small draft. Like punctuation. Dad wrapped his fingers around the pen. 2 documents. 2 clocks. To futures, he lifted the pen tip over the line on the owner consent, and just as the ink was about to touch, Mum spoke a single word that made the room stop. Wait. She wasn't looking at Dad, she was looking at me. Wait, Mum said, looking at me. Answer me one thing, and don't make it a speech. I nodded. Okay? If this fails, she said, voice tight, do we look foolish? Do we lose the buyer? Do we end up with your good intentions and an empty block? Simple questions. Real fear. No, I said. If it fails, we end it at 12 months. The license is revocable. It isn't recorded. Any buyer can still close Tuesday and keep the credit. I'll file monthly reports to the city and to your ridership, deliveries, impact. I already built the dashboard. And I'll show you the audit after every quarter. Mum's face didn't soften, but her eyes flicked to Grandma Ruth's recipe card and away again. And if it works? She asked, quieter. Then the block gets steady, I said. Your buyer opens to a line and a story. And we put Ruth's name on something warm. Klein's smile tightened. You're pitching charity at the closing table. I didn't look at him. I'm pitching belonging. Hannah spoke without asking permission. And I'm witnessing, she said, pulling the pen back into her hand. Mum, you taught me to write thank you cards. Consider this one for the woman who kept the heat on. Mum's jaw worked. The room held its breath. Fine, she said at last, brittle as glass. But if you embarrass us, I won't, I said, and meant it. Dad set his palm on the table like an oath. We sign now, he said, not to Mum or me or Klein, but to the clock. Then we talk boutique. He lowered the pen and signed the owner consent. Evan Henderson, the name looked steadier than his hand. He slid the page to Hannah. She wrote Hannah Henderson on the witness line, then pushed it across the linen to Mum. Mum stared at the pen. For a heartbeat, I could see both futures in her face. The safe sale, the warm room. She looked at Grandma's card again and exhaled like it hurt. She signed, Marianne Henderson. The ink shone for a second, then settled. The room let out a sound I didn't know we'd been holding. Half relief, half prayer. Klein broke the spell with a clap that wasn't a clap. Great, he said, to Bright. Now, let's sign ours. Dad didn't flinch. He slid the consent into the envelope and tapped it shut like a judge. We'll review your agreement tomorrow, he said. No signatures tonight. Ms. Shaw blinked. But, the bonus, still open on Monday, Dad said evenly. And now we come to the table as owners who said yes to their neighbors. If that's a problem for your lender, bring a better lender. Klein's smile lost another millimeter. He gathered his papers. We'll circle back, he said. Enjoy the pie. They left. The door closed on cold, and the kind of silence that makes a new shape in a house. Vanessa would have cheered. There was no Vanessa Heronley, Ruth and Nana, and football and a pie that suddenly mattered more than desert. Dad picked up the recipe card and set it by the check. Ruth liked heat, he said again, softer, more certain. We'll call it Ruth's room. I swallowed hard. That's what I wrote on the mock-up. Hannah laughed, wet and real. Of course you did. Mum sat down, as if the chair had appeared under her. She wouldn't look at me yet, but she wasn't looking away either. If there are press things, she said, voice low, I will not be blindsided. I will not be made to look small. You'll cut the ribbon, I said. If you want. Or Nana will. Or both. Nana's picture frame clicked in a tiny draft like a yes Dad poured coffee no one asked for. The game mumbled. People breathed. I took out my phone and sent the consent scan to Alvarez. Within a minute, my screen pinged. Alvarez, consent received. Match unlocked. Scheduling Jan 12 ribbon. Congrats, HENDERSONS. Then, Brightbridge Foundation. Press hold lifted. Draft release attached. Ruth's room, a bridge hub on Maple. I slid the phone to the center of the table like a candle. Mom read the subject line and pressed her napkin to her mouth. When she lowered it, something in her had moved 1 inch toward me. Don't waste the money, she said. I won't, I said. Don't be late, Hannah added, smiling sideways through tears. You know the councilwoman hates late. I won't, I said again. We ate the DeLuca's pumpkin pie on paper plates, because dishes felt wrong after paperwork. It tasted like cinnamon and the past and relief. 2 months later, January 12th, the street smelled like snow and hope. A banner read Ruth's room in block letters we painted the night before. Mr. DeLuca stood by the radiator in a new hat. Councilwoman Dorsey held scissors. Hannah shoved hand warmers into Mum's gloves. Dad fixed the banner with a strip of duct tape, because something always sags at the last second. Mum touched the brass plaque, the foundation installed. Ruth's room, Henderson family, in service. Not in show, The words had been mine. The approval had been all of ours. Reporters asked soft questions. Cameras clicked. Klein stood at the edge of the crowd with Ms. Shaw, already plotting window displays. He caught my eye, tipped his head, half surrender, half calculation. Fine, let him sell dresses next to rides and meds. Let him borrow heat. When the ribbon fell, the small room filled with breath and coats, and the sound of printers and the soft beep of a tablet that was finally doing the right kind of work. A volunteer taped up a simple sign, Rides Meds Help. Mum squeezed my hand. You did this, she said, not for a camera. We did this, I said back. Hannah leaned in, whispering in my ear so only I could hear it. You know what Mum said at dinner, she murmured. About me being twice the woman you'll ever be. I heard, I said. Hannah shook her head. She was wrong. You made us more. I looked at the room, the radiator, the faces. We made us enough, I said. That night, after the last ride was booked and the door clicked shut, I stood under the sign and felt the heat off the old pipes. Twice, the woman is a small sentence in a loud house. Ruth's room was bigger. It didn't double anyone. It didn't divide us. It added, Mum called my sister twice, the woman I'll ever be. I revealed my $80,000 secret, and then we wrote something better on a door. Not twice. Not half, just hours and warm.